to Magus of the League.
Good.
I am Lee Bond, and this is my co-host, the Bolus to my Eugen, Chris York.
Ouch.
Oh.
I think have we gotten that far
We have.
into the antagonistic vibe?
Yeah, and we are back after a long hiatus. So,
Yeah.
Magus of the League is a video podcast where we talk about Magic Sealed League as a format. But this podcast is also open to anybody who really enjoys sealed as a format and limited formats. So
it's a big tent.
It's a big tent. We've been out in the woods, Chris. It's been almost a month and a half.
Yeah, well, you know, I've been fighting the good fight in the Return to Ravnica League. It's just wrapping up now. I think I just earned my place.
Which was kind of a placeholder league between Ravnica Allegiance and War of the Spark.
Yes, and which James took down, by the way.
James
Newman.
Jed Newby took down
James Newby.
James Newby
took down
Ravnica Allegiance.
That's correct.
That was I forgot we haven't done one since then. It's that was actually a pretty interesting league.
He won it for us because both of us scrubbed out. We were in the same guild, which was the Cynic, and somehow due to James's and Mitch's powers,
noteworthy.
Won us some packs.
Yeah, noteworthy. So, quick summary of that. Of the top 8, 5 were new players.
Yep.
So, always a good idea to join the league now. Apparently, it's a sure way to get yourself into the top 8.
We've never been older and more tired and easier to defeat than now.
And the top 2...
So join for War of the Spark. Starts on May the 3rd.
Top 2 were same guild.
Yeah.
And
both new players.
Both new players. Yeah.
And buddies before they joined.
Yeah.
So they just rolled in and just...
took us to town.
Yeah.
So let's put that in the past.
Yeah.
Today we're doing kind of a special episode.
Yeah.
Because everybody's talking about War of the Spark.
Yeah, and everyone loves top 10s.
Yeah, and everybody loves top 10. So we're not going to go into the deep dive like most of the other limited podcasts are, but we're going to talk about our personal top 10s and what we're going to be looking for in the upcoming league.
Yeah.
Right?
Something light, fizzy, and refreshing after a long break from podcasting. We took a March break, a serious March break, and now we're back to make amends. So we each have 10 cards that we think will specifically be good to open in your league pool. And one special mention. So this is just to give us a little bit of, how can I say it, flexibility.
Yeah.
So Lee, what was your special mention for...
So we're working our way from the bottom of the list?
Of course, yeah. You gotta get that tension ratcheted up. You know?
Okay. So my special mention, for those who know me will probably see this coming, but it's Saheeli Sublime Artificer. Because Saheeli is my girl. You know, I play her in every league that I can, whenever she's available, and she has always carried me forward into victory. But also because particularly there's a few archetypes that have kind of already start to be obvious in this set.
Yep.
One of them is blue-red spells, and we haven't had a set that has like a proficient blue-red spells deck. Guilds kind of had it with the Is It mechanic, but there wasn't that many payoffs. There was like the Cyclops that activated.
Yeah.
This one, oof, we got a lot of payoffs. We got a lot, and I think the best one by far is Saheeli. Okay. And she has some combo potential. So
let's talk about what she is. She's a Planeswalker for 1 and then 2.
Hybrid. Yeah, hybrid. Whenever you cast a non-creature spell, which is this deck set is full of, because every Planeswalker counts as a non-creature spell, you create a 1/1 servo. Additionally, you can pay her downtick's ability is -2, and an artifact you control becomes a copy of another target artifact or creature until end of turn. So you can make copies, which is fantastic, and she feeds you the stuff that you want right away.
Yeah.
I will say this: we didn't really mention it before the podcast, but our top 10 is limited to uncommon and common. Yes. Because that's the fodder of League, right?
There are too many insane bombs, and you'll know them when you open them, whether you should play them or not.
But most of the time, a League deck, in the initial weeks, will only see, like, if you're really lucky, you'll play 4 bombs. If you're usually playing 3, right? So what you're going to be building your deck out of is your commons and uncommons.
Correct.
So that's where our focus has remained. So Saheeli is my #1 pick as a runner-up, or you will, or honorable mention. In the uncommon Planeswalker.
I like what you're doing in terms of like making chumps, you know, on a more or less consistent basis. But what about that -2 ability, right? So what are you copying, really?
Well, so you're taking a servo, and then you're copying your Ilmog the Razebore, and then you're putting 2 creatures into play, triggering both of them.
Right. Then the legend rule activates. And then one of your Ilhard goes to the...
Gets put into 3rd place from your library, and then you still get to smash for 15 because it's a god.
Okay.
So,
I gotta say, I'm a little bit unconvinced in terms of the copying aspect. Maybe you can make 1 or 2 servos. In that case, it's like a... What is it? That spell that makes 2 goblins.
Or you copy your spark double with your servo. Because the legend rule doesn't apply on spark doubles, you get 3 copies of the same planeswalker. They're all bolus. I'll take the bonus. So
okay. Yeah. Well, since it's an honorable mention, I won't go too heavy into the.
But there's some combo potential. I really like her as a payoff because she is a 3-drop for a 5 loyalty planeswalker.
There's a lot of those
triggers on pretty much every spell you're going to play for the rest of this set. Because there's so many planeswalkers, artifacts, everything. Like creatures are not the predominant force in this set because they tagged on a mass to a lot of cards. So that's, and we'll get into that deeper, but that's my take on it, right?
All I'm saying is I think before she dies, she's going to be like a slow release Goblin Gathering. Sometimes a Goblin Gathering for 2, sometimes a Goblin Gathering for 3.
See, the thing of there too, though, is that the payoffs that go in her deck are the Strix and the Burning Prophet, both at common. Each one is a 2-drop. So if you go 2-drop into 3-drop into 2 simultaneous spells, you're getting a +3/+0, scry twice, and 2 servos offer. And that's like a medium range scenario. Okay. If you can keep her on the board, you're getting like crazy amounts of value. Like, she's a payoff in that deck. That's why I give her an honorable mention. She's not in that deck. She's not as good as you would want her.
Okay. My honorable mention is a little less contentious. I'm going to say that you're going to agree with me, and in thinking that this is a card that every League player will run as many of as they possibly can to the maximum of 4, and that is the Guild Globe. Guild Globe is an artifact for 2. When it comes into the battlefield, you draw a card, and then for 2 mana, you tap, you sack, you add 2 mana of 2 different colors. Such good fixing, replaces itself, you're not doing much on turn 2 anyway. This is going to enable a lot of shenanigans, and the reason it's my special mention is because I think it goes in every single deck. You don't need to build around it like Saheeli, you're just going to keep trying to get more of these in your deck. And I think everyone's going to want to run it, no matter what kind of archetype you're running.
I don't think so. I think this set, from what I've seen, is we'll get, like you said, we're going to get deeper into this later, but I think the speed of this set is actually a lot faster than a lot of people are anticipating. And I think a 2-drop Prophetic Prism is not something you want to be playing. You want to be dropping a creature on turn 2, or amassing, or dropping like something that does something. So I do like the draw card on it, and the fact that you can utilize it immediately means that even in the late game it's still pretty good. I think there's going to be some specific decks.
But let's say first few weeks of League, what are you looking for? You're looking for something you're going to be able to slot into your 2/3 color deck.
It's a neutral slot that doesn't penalize you for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. But there's better upsides, I think, than that in the neutrals. Like, I mean, I would just play the Prismite over that, to be honest.
Really?
Yeah. Because as a 2-drop, it's still a 2/1, and it's going to fix you at the cost, but you still get a creature at the 2-drop slot, right? Like, that's... I think it's still upside.
Yeah, well, you don't get immediate payoff though. It's mana.
Yeah.
It's how can I say it? It's mana disadvantage because you're paying 2 colorless for 1 colored mana.
Yeah, I agree, but it's still a 2/1 body. It's still on a body. It's still on a body. It's still on a body. It's better than the.
Fair enough. But
what's the land? What's the land that always does?
Terramorphic Expanse.
No, so there's a land that you pay 1 and tap, and it filters, and it gives you 1 mana. It's in a bunch of It's like it's not the Guild Gate because
Rupture Spire.
No, that's the one that it's indefinitely any color of mana, but it's in other sets. Like it was in Theros. It's a terrible card. You should never really play it. But it was at the cost of 1 fixing.
Okay, I'm gonna jump to my number 10.
All right,
in that
jumping into number 10. So
Let's
number 10.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm on it because it's.
Yeah.
I'm right next to it in the spoiler. It is Angrath, the Captain of Chaos.
Okay.
I felt like for me, I would be remiss if I didn't mention at least 1 Planeswalker on my list. And what Angrath, Captain of Chaos, does, it's 2 generic and 2 hybrid Rakdos mana for a legendary Planeswalker, Angrath. Creatures you control with menace, that's his static ability. And then for -2, you amass 2, which means you get a zombie army token and put 2 counters on it, or put 2 counters on a pre-existing army. So, like many of these uncommon planeswalkers, it's a 5 loyalty, which means you can activate twice, and then have it hang around. And the reason I think this is so good is that it gives you both evasion on offense and the bodies to capitalize on that evasion if you are on the beatdown, and the bodies to protect Angrath if you're not on that plan. Simply say 4/4 of stats over 2 turns for 4 mana, it's not bad. You know, it's a slow drop 4/4 at worst case scenario. And best case scenario, it's part of a very aggressive beatdown plan, which seems to be what red-black is about in the set.
Okay, I can see where you're going with that, but I think that if you want to talk about a build-around, this is more of a build-around than Sahiba. Because you need hard aggro to really control the board. Otherwise, you're paying 4 for a 2/2, you're setting yourself behind.
But you're definitely going to get at least one body out of this.
Yeah.
Whereas for Zahili, you need to throw an instant
But
or a sorcery or a planeswalker on top, even to get a 1/1.
That's true, but
talk me out of that.
She costs 3 less, so 1 less mana. So in terms of the curve in the deck she fits into, this is like, it's just about the archetypes that they fit into, right? Like, he fits into an archetype that has to be aggressive.
That wins games.
That wins games.
Yeah.
But it's like if you slot another 3-drop aggressive creature, like Dread Horde Caller or something like that, wouldn't it just be better than him? Because you already have the 3/2 that costs 4, that when it dies amass 2, you're getting 5 body, and you're always getting the best case scenario for Angrath. Like, it's just better, you know? Anyways, that's my take on him.
We'll keep track of these predictions, and at the end of the league, we'll come back and we'll look at our list and we'll say, have we, with enough time and distance, emotional distance, from this very moment when we're still excited about the set, do we have it in our heart to reconsider the order?
Fair enough.
Yeah, let's go to your number 10.
My number 10, Spark Harvest. So this is black for destroy target creature and or planeswalker. As an additional cost, you have to sacrifice your creature or pay 3 colors and 1 black.
Okay.
And why this is my number 10 is because in this set, and we were talking about this earlier, they kind of took all the commons and uncommons that we've been getting for the last 4 sets and then just put a little bit of upside. Right? So, where you're going to have a set, this set has a lot of token generation, like whether it's the Amass or other zombies, there's generally, I feel like there's going to be a lot of useless creatures too, like the...
Servos?
Servos as an example, but like there's a 1/2 zombie that amasses 1.
Right.
Once he's done his job of amassing, you can pretty much use him, right?
Yeah.
So, whereas before, the common removal spell was always 3 colors black. This is just the same spell with a little bit of upside. You can do it on 1, and it hits planeswalkers. Like, that is unbelievable for removal. Like, if you're in black, you should always be slotting this card. So
the problem that I see with it is that it's a sorcery speed, and you're 2 for 1 yourself.
It costs 1.
It's sorcery speed, and if you're playing it for
and you're not necessarily sorcery speeding yourself. 2 for 1 yourself?
Sure.
Because it's the same sorcery speed removal that we've been having for the last 4 sets with an upside option.
Banging the table won't convince me. Bang, bang, bang. It's still, like, that's not... All the same, I think my point is, if it was an instant where you're going to be losing the creature, and then as an instant speed, okay, well, I'll sack it to do this great thing on the cheap, then yeah. But for sorcery speed, it's not bad, but I don't, it's not tearing up the world, I think, in terms of removal. Here's a spoiler alert. I've got black removal that I think is superior in 2 of my higher spots.
I'm going to say this, though. In terms of the spots...
Yeah.
Oh, I lost my train of thought. I completely lost it. No,
more of the spots.
I'm going to say... Oh, no, yeah. One of the things, in terms of the planeswalkers, like, anytime you have an interaction with a planeswalker, like, it is just... super necessary in the set, because we're all going to be starting with at least 6 planeswalkers, if not more, because the packs come with 1 planeswalker and a rare slot. You can get 2 planeswalkers in the same set, in the same pack. You can get 2 mythic planeswalkers in the same pack.
I don't think so. I think if it's the same as the legends in Dominaria, if the...
Legend is rare. There was packs in Dominaria that had rare legends and a rare card.
Maybe in the foil slot, but I think that if you get 1 planeswalker in your rare slot, you won't get it in the uncommon slot. I think that's how it works. Same as Dominaria.
Okay.
To the best of my knowledge. So you might get lucky and get a foil, and therefore get 2 planeswalkers, but that will be the exception rather than the rule.
Okay. Alright, moving on. Your number 9.
My number 9 is Thunder Drake. So Thunder Drake is 2/3 for 4, so 3 and a blue. It's an elemental Drake. It has flying, like all Drakes should. And we're seeing the return of the Surge mechanic here. So whenever you cast your second spell each turn, put a +1/+1 counter on Thunder Drake. And now I think this is exciting because you can build your deck such that you got a lot of low casting cost, spells if you want, creatures if you don't. And this is going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. It's going to have evasion. It's going to tear through planeswalkers. It's going to destroy life totals. I've got high hopes for this. This could be.
Do you want me to dash your hopes right now?
Well, let me just say this could be the vindication of the Surge mechanic that we saw all the way back in Oath of the Gatewatch.
I'm going to say this right now. The deck this goes into, this is the worst possible payoff.
Really?
Right? Because the thing is it's only on the second spell you cast, right? So whereas you have Sihili, the Strix, Burning Prophet that all trigger twice before he triggers once, you know, I just feel like he's decent and he's playable because of the 60 card format in Sealed League. If I was playing
that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, this is what we're talking about.
That's the
but I'm still can use it in ranking and power because the thing is like I would rather have a second Burning Prophet than a Burning Prophet and a Thunder Drake in my same deck. Just because the consistency of hitting those payoffs is way better than hitting a Thunder Drake on 4. You know what I mean? And the thing is in our format, and I've noticed like card advantage in this set is kind of tough to come by. Where in the past our 3 colorless 1 blues were all instant speed to draw 2. Now we have 2. We have a divination with an upside for Jace and one that's at sorcery speed. You want to talk about slow draw? Like sorcery speed, 3 colorless 1 blue to draw. That is like really behind what we've had in the past. Now there are some cards that kind of give us card advantage, but they don't draw. So and I'll talk about it later because it's up on my list. But I think the fact that it's every second spell after the second spell, I think it's low in that deck, and you know we don't have an opt, we don't have the regular red one that like usually makes a creature unblockable. In fact, that one that costs 3 in this set, so it's very costly.
So your opinion, if I can précis it to one sentence, is that your hand is going to be out of gas
way before
by the time Thunder Drake needs it.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay,
that's my feeling.
Okay.
So
that's a valid. And it's a possibly valid complaint.
Yeah. I'm going to notice, you'll notice a lot of my premiums are removal, right? Because in a Planeswalker heavy set, you need removal. However, this one,
these number 9,
interacts with creatures. So my number 9 is Jaya's Greeting.
Hello.
It's pay 1 colorless 1 red, 3 damage, scry 1 to a creature.
Yeah.
So it's like, hello, Pam your face.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, exactly.
Yeah. All right.
I think this is just a really top quality premium removal. It's Lightning Bolt, but you can't hit face. The big downside of it is obviously that you're not going to hit creatures, but as we all know, scrying is drawing half a card. So we're getting a scry tagged onto this, and I think that's a pretty powerful effect for a piece of removal that costs 2.
Yeah.
You know, I just think it's going to be in every red deck that you have.
I would agree with you, except that I have my number 8, which is along the same lines but better, and that is Chandra's Triumph. Now, Chandra's Triumph, it's kind of like your card, in that it's a red burn spell, except for the fact that mine only costs 2 mana.
Mine also only costs 2 mana.
Really? Like, it costs 3 mana, right?
No, 2.
Is it 2?
Yeah, 2 mana.
Really?
Yeah, 2 mana.
But mine deals 3 damage to a creature or planeswalker, and if you control a Chandra, well, you can up that to 5.
Yeah. So basically, you're trading off...
At instant speed, my friend.
Yeah,
instant speed.
The other one is instant speed as well.
So what are we talking about? We're talking about the same
Guy's
card?
Greeting, right here. 3 damage to target creature, scry 1. So you're trading off your scry for an accidental upside if you have a Chandra.
Also, the
ability to
hit planeswalkers.
Yeah.
Planeswalkers might be important to hit.
Yeah.
Therefore, I think Chandra's Triumph, my number 8,
is
possibly trumps your number 9.
I don't know. I think they're on similar. That one, I think time will tell. I think the interaction with Planeswalker, you have a point. It's pretty heavy, but I think the half a card of Scry is pretty great, especially in a format where you want to filter through your deck. I
think the real difference here is that yours is common and mine's uncommon.
Yeah, so you'll probably have multiples.
You're going to see my slightly better card less often than your slightly worse card.
Yeah.
So you're number 8.
Okay, so my number 8 definitely trumps your number 8. Ral's Outburst.
Oh.
So this one is a deal 3,
yes.
but it's select 2 for 4. So the cost is a much higher.
It's 4.
It's 4. 2 colors, 1 blue, 1 red. 3 damage to any target. when you do it, you take the top 2 cards of your library, one in your hand, one on the bottom of your library.
Sounds
I believe.
good.
I think so. I think it's like a scry, but it's not really drawing.
Yeah.
So it's card selection, it's damage, it costs a little bit more, but I think Grixis and spells are going to be 2 of the strongest archetypes. So I think both those decks are going to want to play that.
I mean, look, I agree with you that removal spells that replace themselves are very premium, especially when you've got a hungry Thunder Drake to feed.
Yeah.
And you need that influx of cards coming through your deck constantly.
Yeah.
So, I think on that basis I can agree that your number is pretty spicy.
Thunder Drake on 4, Ral's Outburst on 5, then the Thunder Drake doesn't grow because you don't have enough mana to play a second spell, is what you're saying, right? But I will say this, in terms of the set overall, I think they saw the need to interact with the Planeswalkers. So, I think this is the first set that we've had 3... It would be pretty crappy if they didn't. Yeah, I know. Well, we've had 3... or 4, I think we have 4, just pure damage removal spells. Yeah. Whereas usually we get 1 low cost one and 1 high cost one. Because we also have the Sarkans for 5, which is just a generic 5 to anything. But in the past we usually get Lightning Strike and a command or something 5 that deal thing. Now we've gotten 4, and I think there's even more interaction. Burn is going to be particularly good in this set because it interacts with Planeswalkers.
Yeah, of course.
Okay.
Except yours, which only hits creatures.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So my number 7.
Yeah.
Also removal, and I think it's a black removal. It's called Bleeding Edge.
Mm-hmm.
So it's 3 mana, 1 black. It's a sorcery. This is a classic 2-for-1 in that you give a target creature -2/-2 until end of turn, and then you get to amass 2, which means you either get a 2/2 zombie or add 2 +1/+1 counters to a pre-existing zombie army token.
Yeah.
So here is why, as opposed to your card, which takes 2 of your cards to do something amazing, this is 1 card and it gives you 2 amazing effects. You gotta be
I wouldn't put it up as amazing. So I'll tell you what, this almost made my list.
Okay.
I was cutting it at the beginning. I will say this, it's fantastic. I think the big one of the big downsides that we had it is compare it to Dominaria, the fungal infection, right?
Yeah.
That was instant speed, right?
It was.
This will never be a 2-for-1. It'll always be a 1-for-1. You get the amass zombie, right? But usually the fungal infection would be okay, I -1/-1 this creature and kill it, and I block this creature and I kill it. Or I can take down a 2/2 because I do that, right? This also takes down a 2/2, but it doesn't give you that added interaction for first strike or anything like that because it's sorcery speed. No. Also, the costing is a little bit high for me. You're paying 3 for a 2/2, it's not going to hit a lot of targets. A lot of the zombies in this set are 2/3s. 3, if you look at the Aven zombie, the Taskmaster, a lot of the 2-drops already start at 2/3, so I have a feeling this will be it'll be playable, but I think it's going to be one of the ones you're going to start slotting out pretty early.
I'm going to make a confession to you.
Yeah.
I have played 3 mana 2/2s in League before just to fill out my curve.
Yeah.
And that was not even considering the fact that I could give another creature on the other side of the board -2/-2.
Yeah.
I think that for any black deck, this is going to be an essential ingredient to their success.
I'm just saying, are you going to find a lot of 3 mana 2/2s in this set? Have you studied the set? Are there a lot of them? Because I didn't see that many.
There are enough targets for this to make it worthwhile. There are lots of little fragile targets. Right next to it, Banehound.
I will say this, because the set is...
problematic creature you're going to want to get rid of, obviously.
So I don't know how the rules interaction with theirs, but because this text is different, at some point you could also just -2 into nothing to make it 2/2, or you have to have a legal target.
It's just up to.
Yeah, so you
up
can,
to
at least you can amass, right?
Exactly.
So I'll concede to that, but I don't know if it's in the top 10. It's nice, but
from my perspective, it's a 2-for-1 because I have a magic person's line.
My number 7.
Yeah.
Dovin's Veto, or should I call it Dovin's Ban?
Nice.
So this is already blue-white uncommon, counter target non-creature spell.
Yep.
This spell can't be countered. So this card has already been talked about as changing pretty much every constructed format.
Okay.
And I think it still has a place in this format, in particular because of the sheer number of planeswalkers.
Right.
Right? So, but we're talking about a situation where it's you can never lose a counter war. It's and I was listening to other podcasts who are already talking about it.
Let's be fair though, Lee. How many counter wars do you get in League?
Usually 1 or 2.
Really?
Yeah, usually the whole thing with the counter wars is especially with the ones that counter unless your opponent pays a certain amount of mana, which we have I think 2 of in this set. Those ones it's usually like your opponent will have that in hand. It's useless because you haven't really been playing thing. They play their threat, you try to counter it, and then they quench you in the last set as the example because you tapped out to counter them, right? Usually you'll have one interaction like that and it'll just kind of hit your bomb. I usually, and the thing is too, like,
so wait a second. Instead of paying the 2 mana for quench, you pay the 2 mana for Dovin's veto.
Yeah.
Why not just pay the 2 mana for the quench at that point?
No. But the situation is that your opponent can't quench you. You're the second counter spell. You're the one countering the threat.
Ah, okay, I see.
So they can't quench you.
Right, I see.
Because the quench, it makes the ones that make you cost to pay lose value because you can comfortably tap out to cast a Dovin's ban, or Dovin's veto as the card is called, but I'm going to keep calling it Dovin's ban. But you can comfortably tap out knowing that it doesn't matter what they have in hand. They won't counter you after the second, they won't counter you. And the thing is too is, because it can't be countered, right? It's the same as what's the Rhythm of the Wild was in the last set. If they cast the counter spell, they lose it because it's a valid target. It just can't be countered. So the spell just resolves and the other one just fizzles, right? So I think it's a powerhouse card. I think it's sideboardable for sure, but I think depending on my colors in the first thing, I'm probably have 1 main slot in the first week or 2.
Okay. Well, look, I agree with you about its usefulness, but I do think that you need to footnote Mark Rosewater, who originally made the Dovin's ban joke on his Instagram.
Yeah, it's true.
I think that you need to
apologize
to Mark Rosewater for trying to steal his
comedy
material.
I didn't hear it from just him. I think that's the general term that everybody's been calling it.
Fair enough. He might have. He might have lifted it as well.
Shout out to Mark Rosewater and his comedy genius.
Yeah, well, and whoever else. If he had a shadow writer.
Yeah.
Moving on up.
Yeah.
To number 6, we're going to take a stealth mission. Now, we've talked about removal, but we haven't talked about just like winning the game. Stealth Mission is one of these cards that can sneakily win you the game. It's sorcery, and it's 2 colorless and a blue. What does it do? Well, minimally, it will make one of your creatures unblockable to the end of the turn, and it will also put 2 counters on that creature, 2 +1/+1 counters. So you permanently buff one of your creatures, and you can go in for lethal on a crucial turn. So keep this in your back pocket. Whenever the opponent gets low on life, you stealthily, make your biggest creature unblockable and win the game. I can see a lot of, how do I say it, locks on the ground being opened up by this card. And even if you don't hit them on the first swing, if your biggest creature is being buffed up by 2 +1/+1 counters, you can just go through with a follow-up attack and keep eating smaller creatures. Yeah, I've got high hopes for this one.
I don't know if I consider it top 10 material again, but I do see the value. It kind of slipped under my radar, but I can see that it's basically saying amass without the amass mechanic, right? Yeah. Like it's basically amass and then give unblockable to your zombie token, right? Like that's the deck you would put it
no,
into.
it's better than amass because you don't have to put it on a crappy zombie token. You can put it on any creature you like.
Agreed, but like a lot of the creatures in this set are going to be the zombie tokens, right? I'm going to need, I think this one is black-white. D-Spark. So
I know this one.
Yeah.
It's 1 black.
This is my number 6. Yeah, 1 black, 1 white. Exile target permanent converted mana cost 4. So this is another one we were talking about.
Yeah.
It's basically kind of like Final Payment with no downside, But
for a certain subset of cards.
Yeah, for a certain subset of cards. So the biggest problem that I see this one having, and it's why I didn't make my number 1, because it probably would have made my number 1, is that we're going to have a lot of permanents that don't cost 4, because we're going to have all the zombie tokens, right? Yeah. All of those are going to cost 0. And it's the same reason that the Blast Zone land, which is basically engineered explosives, probably isn't that great and limited in this set. Because it starts with 1 charge counter on it, so it immediately can't hit all the zombie tokens in play. Right?
Neither can Spark.
Now that being said, usually the exile target creature that's 4 or greater in the set costs 2 and 1 white. Usually it's attached to attacking or something like that. It's pretty conditional. Like this just seems like a more premium removal, and it's target permanent. Sure. So it can hit planeswalkers, it can hit enchantments, artifacts. I think this is a premium card.
Yeah.
And once again, it's like white in the overall has been kind of underwhelming, but they've had some like few key premium removals that like often color paired that are just really interesting to me.
I've seen Vindicate be very good, and this is no Vindicate.
Right.
Right.
But it's
Like this is I think you're right that this is a must for League, because we have to play cards from every possible casting cost that fits in our colors. So I think eventually you're going to find a good target for Dispark. So I agree with you, it's great for this format. But you're going to have to wait for your chance to really make it shine, I think. And then once League goes on, once maybe like week 5, week 6, week 7, when people start getting really aggressive, low to the ground aggressive decks, then maybe Despark might need to be sided in rather than just be put in main deck.
Yeah. I'll say this though, of all the bomb planeswalkers, like everyone that's rare, I don't think any of them, like all of them cost 4 or more, right? Like so, of every single rare planeswalker that we know people are going to be playing, this hits it for sure.
So you're saying Saheeli's not a bomb?
Well, she's not rare.
Okay.
She's an uncommon bomb, but she's not rare, right?
Okay.
Like Jace is 4, Gideon is 3, so it wouldn't
And Graf is 4. Yeah, okay, I agree. Yeah.
Nicol Bolas, like basically all of them that are at rare or higher. The only one that costs 3 is Gideon.
And we know in the story he dies anyway. So.
Yeah, exactly. So I think that it's still premium in that sense. It's going to hit all those planeswalkers, right? And you're going to be looking for a lot of that interaction in League.
Yeah.
So your number 5.
Number 5 for me is, you're gonna love this one.
Man, you're just
Bond of Discipline. I mean, I couldn't resist, getting one of the cards at least that's named after you. I'm gonna use this card to discipline you during League. It's a sorcery in white, 4 colorless, 1 white. Tap all creatures your opponents control. Creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn.
Yeah.
Now, I think this is a huge, in terms of like stealth mission can end games. Bond of Discipline is just way better.
Yeah,
it's just way better. That's why it's farther up the list, because this gets all your creatures in for a hit, gains you the life so the crackback doesn't hurt you, and then you're set up for another attack.
The biggest problem for me with this card is that it costs 5.
Yes.
And it's basically not sleep, which is such a bad card.
Agreed.
And it costs 4.
This ain't no sleep, but the life gain is pretty juicy.
The tap down all in a situation is pretty good, because at worst it can also just be a removal for a planeswalker, and you're protecting yourself from the crackback with the lifelink, right? Like,
and if you have like a Johnny's Pride Mate, for example, he's gonna love this.
Yeah, it's
he's
true.
Gonna love this.
Yeah, so I can see that being decent. Still not in my top 10. But,
okay, fair enough.
My number 5,
yeah.
with the amazing art by Seb McKinnon, who always crushes it.
Oh, I think I know this one.
Death Sprout.
Yeah.
Yeah. So colorless, black, green, green. If I believe, remember, he's cost 4.
Is it 2 black, 1 green?
I think it's 2 black, 1 green, or it might be 2 green, 1 black. Yeah. But destroy target creature. Put a basic land from your library into play. So it's ramp attached to removal.
Yep.
Which I think is pretty powerful. There are some decent ramp cards in this. We're seeing New Horizon coming back. My next card, which I'll talk about. So I think ramp is actually going to be an archetype in this, because there are some big payoff cards. And I think this is just that black-green payoff that everybody's going to want.
Well, all the X-Spell rares, I suppose, right?
Yeah,
the ones
it's true. I didn't even take those into consideration.
The ones that need you to get 12 or higher.
Yeah, I was just thinking of the gods, who all cost like 5 or 6, right?
So I agree with you that removal in a ramp is a pretty sexy package.
Yeah.
What gets me about this particular card, Death Sprout, is the fact that you have to be pretty much all the way into Golgari to reliably use it. And I don't know if Golgari does seem to have some good things going on.
So going into your honorable mention and just throwing it back into your face, I think that this set, more than any other set, is going to be one that you can splash a lot of, because we see 4 cards at artifacts that allow you to filter or generate any color of mana, right? And the other one that allows you, and then the other color that really allows you to do that is in green. Green has 2 dorks and like ramp and like everything. So I think this set, more so than any past set, is going to allow you to be like, we're going to see 3, maybe even 4 color splashes early. Like we always see the 4 or 5 color decks that people are playing like the Gates and Janky Brews, but I think this set is going to be like, those might actually be consistently strong decks. So it's going to be something to watch out for.
Can I just say though that I think that Dorks has become politically incorrect. I think they'd like to be called mana provisioners now. That's the politically correct.
The politically correct.
Yeah. Mana provisioners.
So
Dorks is demeaning, and it makes them feel other.
Fair enough.
So I'm going to keep on hitting the bonds here. So my number 4 is Bond of Flourishing.
Yeah.
The bonds, I'm liking the bonds.
You're really liking sorcery speed.
Oh.
Usually you're all about the instant speed interactions.
I don't know how to play instants. Sorceries are just safe. I do everything during my turn and pass my turn, you know.
Yeah.
It's safer for me. So Bond of Flourishing is 1 colorless, 1 green. Again, sorcery. I think all the bonds are sorceries. Look at the top 3 cards of your library. You may reveal a permanent card, pretty broad category of cards, from among them and put it into your hand. Put the rest in the bottom of your library. Any order.
Yeah.
You choose. You gain 3 life.
I'm glad that they took away with the random order, because that was really being annoying.
Yeah,
but
flip, you're done.
Yeah, but at some point it's an interaction that can matter if you're going through your deck with a bunch of scry and stuff.
Actually, I think choosing the order makes it more irritating, because then your really careful opponents are like, oh, which one goes on top? Which one goes on the bottom? Oh, let me think, right? So this gives you more opportunity to durdle. But what I like about this card is not necessarily the way the cards are put on the bottom of the library. That's a far second. Yeah. It's the fact that if you need a land, you get a land. You need a creature, you probably get a creature. If you need a planeswalker, maybe less likely, but you got a chance to grab a planeswalker. I don't think artifacts really matter in this set, so I'm going to skip that as a category.
Even though because of your honorable mention?
Well,
you put up an honorable mention, you're shitting all over it.
Okay, yeah, I'm going to definitely be grabbing my Guild Globes off my Bonds of
Draws
Flourishing.
you a card.
Okay,
draws you a card.
But here's the thing, this draws me a card too. So this could be Bond of Flourishing into Guild Globe, draw an extra card, next Bond of Flourishing, next Guild Globe. What are you doing? You're playing creatures, you're playing planeswalkers?
I'll tell you what, if you want to find a way to generate more than 1 spell a turn for your damn Storm Drake, this is a way to do it.
It's back here. It's back here. I'm going Simic, Storm Drake, Bond of Flourishing.
So you just didn't want me to let the technology out.
Exactly. But what I like about this, here's the thing. A lot of these cards that go tutoring for things, they don't give you the cushion that you need, that you deserve, frankly. Yeah. This gives you 3 life, a nice little cushion to pay you off for taking turn 2 off and going to find something better.
I'll agree with you. This is a solid card. The way I see it and the way I'm going to approach it if I'm playing it is this is always my turn 2. Mm-hmm. Like this is what I want to be playing to ramp or for card for mana. It's if you think about Quadrant Theory from LSV, it's a card that's always good in the late game too, because where it gets you the land early and it fixes you and whatever.
It gets you the creature.
It gets you the creature
or the
planeswalker, or the planeswalker, right? So if you're playing this in League and you do it and you see a planeswalker and a land and everything, like basically what you're evaluating is like what phase of the game am I in? Am I turn 2? Then I should be taking the land. If I'm turn 10 and I already have all my lands, you know, it's Quadrant Theory at its best. It has value all the way around. So.
I've seen this described as Ritual of Renewal plus.
Yeah.
Right? It's like
a little bit up.
Yeah, a little bit up there.
So my number 4, also in the ramp category, Paradise Druid. So this is a 2/1 hexproof, and it generates a mana of any color, right? And I believe it's as long as it's untapped, it's hexproof. So
yes, that's right.
This kind of premium hexproof any color mana, it makes me think of Sylvan Caryatid, right? Which was absolutely bananas. And the thing is like no matter what, you're going to get that at least 1 mana off it in ramp, because the turn you play it on turn 2, your opponent can't interact with it unless they make you sack it or something like that.
Or they play Nausea or some other...
Yeah, they have to find some specific way to work around it, but hexproof, as we know, is like one of the most annoying mechanics, right? And like, say you were to go out of guild, if you were to give it an enchantment that say gives it +3/+2 in vigilance, you know, then you have a hexproof beater that can generate a mana. So like, I just found like this to me seems like a card that was probably supposed to be a rare, and they downgraded it with the untapped mechanic to uncop.
Come on though, it only has hexproof as long as it's untapped.
I know, that's what I'm saying. They
first time you
it was probably hexproof.
You put the knife in it.
It was probably hexproof.
Yeah.
Right? And then they were like, that's too good. Let's downgrade it. It's like it's only when it's untapped, And
it's only if you want to use
common.
it to attack or give you mana.
Yeah,
If you don't want to use it, it's always hexproof.
but I'm just saying you're guaranteed a ramp off it. How many dorks can you say that guarantee you a
Please,
ramp?
provisioners.
How many provisioners can you see that guarantee you a ramp? Right?
Fair enough. Fair enough. I mean,
Like,
they will bolt the bird, but they will not bolt the bird before you get the 1 mana off of it.
exactly, and you can give other targets for them to bolt before you do the mana off of them. Like, you can play her on turn 2, play another turn 3 spell, and then turn 5 play your Ronus, you know?
Bait the
Or
bolt.
turn 4, bait the bolt, you know? Bait the bolt and then play your Ronus, or bait the bolt and then play your Nisa on turn 4.
Let's
Like,
make that happen. Let's make
making-
that phrase happen. Bait the bolt.
Bait the bolt.
Yeah.
Making the jump, the thing about this card is, because of the hexproof, as long as it's untapped, the power level of it is going to be very much determined on how well you play it, right? Like, it's up to you to decide the turn you want to skip, right? Because ramping is essentially skipping a turn, right? So if you're like, hey, I'll skip my turn 2, go into turn 3, or turn 3 into 4, the payoff better be huge, right? But if you're skipping your turn 4 into your turn 5, most of the, like, you're talking Nissa, we're talking all the gods, we're talking, like, that's where that sweet big boy is. Like, Bolus, if you want to make Bolus come down in a 4-color deck.
That sweet big boy.
Yeah, sweet big boy. You know, like, these are, you gotta figure out where your skip is.
You're not gonna play Bolus and Paradise Druid in the same deck.
You would with Guild Globe.
Uh,
Just gonna keep throwing it in your face. Alright, moving on. Number 3.
Number 3, you're gonna love my number 3.
I agree.
It's called Prison Realm.
Yeah.
It's an enchantment for 2 colorless and 1 white. And the good thing with Prison Realm is that it gets rid of creatures and planeswalkers. The bad news is that it misses out on what these kinds of effects like O-Stone, or O-Ring, sorry, traditionally got, which was enchantments and artifacts. Luckily, they're not really much of a factor in this set. The payoff, the trade-off for that is that you get to scry 1.
Yep. And I'll agree with you, this card is fantastic.
Yeah.
Essentially, in this last 3 sets, we've been seeing, at this cost for this enchantment, has been a pacify effect.
That's right.
Can't attack, can't block. So I think this is a monster upgrade. And as I said, scrying is a half card. So I think, I agree with you, it's a huge, huge playable.
Well, what's your number 3 then?
My number 3 is Eternal Skylord. So this is the 2/3 that amasses 1, I believe. You'll have to double check for me.
What color is it?
It's blue, but it definitely gives all zombie tokens flying. Now you want to talk about an invasion payoff?
I do.
This is, there we go, amass 2. So he's a 3/3 flying for 5 with amass 2, and zombie tokens you control have flying, right? So this guy, he's going to make all your amass tokens pay off. Any zombie tokens you have pay off. He gives a good evasion. He's a huge body. I think that this is, so last turn set we had the Simic, that any creature with a +1/+1 counter had flying, and it was a huge payoff.
Yeah.
Simic Spywing, Skatewing, something like that.
Yeah.
I think this is this guy of that set, and I think he's fantastic, and I think that if you're playing blue-black, or you're playing blue-red, you're going to want this zombie wizard. And he's a wizard, so if you go to Dominaria, you can trigger zombie wizard payoffs. So,
okay.
yeah.
All right. I'm on board. I suppose that my fear about this card is that your Skylord stays home, you send in your flying zombie token, someone uses some of this premium removal that we're talking about in either red or black, they kill the Skylord, the zombie loses flying, and just gets completely eaten.
But it's still a 1-for-1, right?
Yeah, but you're losing on the mana exchange. You're paying 5 mana for this, whereas the mana that we're talking about is 2 mana in red, 3 mana in black, to totally blow this out at common.
Yeah, but it's agree. I agree. I can see where the point is, but the thing is too is like, if you're, at very worst, it's a 3/3 and a 2/2, right?
Yeah.
If it's a 3/3 with a 5/5, because you've been messing from the beginning of the game, because this is late curve for that deck,
Sure.
right? It's basically, okay, so he bolts it, and then he still has to deal with the 5/5 that is attacking it.
Yeah, I agree.
Any time that you get 2 bodies for 5 mana at the exact cost of efficiency plus an upside, I think it's just fantastic.
I'll agree that it's a decent threat, but in this set of premium removal, I think it's going to have a hard time surviving. Is all.
That's fair.
And once you cut out the flying off those off the 2/2 zombie, it's a little less.
If you want it to be good, you have to bait the bolt.
Bait the bolt.
All right, number 2.
Hashtag bait the bolt. Yes. So my number 2 is Tyrant's Scorn. This is one of the gold cards.
Yes.
I think it was previewed by the Command Zone.
Yeah.
It's 1 blue and 1 black, and the Tyrant's Scorn is an instant.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's a sorcery. It's a sorcery.
Is it a sorcery?
Yeah.
Okay.
Does
Sorry,
this just
folks.
change your?
We gotta wait for this to buffer here.
Yeah.
It's coming up. It's coming up. And
It's a blue black, but we can go over what it does while you're scrolling down
Sure.
to whether it's instant sorcery.
Yeah.
First option, choose
Yeah.
one.
Yep.
Destroy target permanent, convert mana cost 3 or less.
Smother. That's
Yeah.
right.
Second option, return target creature to its owner's hand.
Unsummon.
Unsummon.
Correct. And I think
Yeah.
both sides of this spell are absolutely fantastic. And sticking them together.
Oh, no, it is an instant. Which makes sense on an unsummon. Unsummon is always instant.
Yeah, well, if it's a good unsummon.
Yeah.
So there we go. It's an instant. It does everything you want. As far as I'm concerned, this is half of a command,
Yeah.
right? So it's like half a cryptic command
Yeah.
for half the price, and I think that's a great deal. There are some times when you just need a simple A or B menu card, and you need it for 2 mana, and Tyrant Scorn deals with a lot of creature threats. All creature threats, in
Yeah.
fact, big and small.
I will say this, it's a huge flavor fail, right?
Because
it's an instant speed, and if you look at the image, it's basically Bolas scorning Gideon, who costs 3. But Gideon, during your turn, if he's attacking, he's indestructible. So you're attacking with an indestructible Gideon that can't be affected by this card.
should have been exile, right?
Yeah, exile or something like that.
Well, this say he returns it to the hand.
Then you just get a Gideon back. It's really
Yes.
not a great.
Underwhelming.
Yeah,
But I think it's a very flexible card.
Yeah.
And it's going to blow at a lot of combats.
yeah.
Lee, you're number 2.
My number 2, and this was almost my number 1. When I first saw that, I was like, this is the most busted card in the set. I hope that I open 3 in my uncommon pool.
Had to change your underwear moment.
It was Angrath's Rampage.
Yes.
So Angrath's Rampage is basically Diabolic Edict on crack. Or so it's so choose one.
Yep.
Target player sacrifices an artifact.
Mhm.
Irrelevant. Target player sacrifices a creature.
Relevant.
So Diabolic Edict.
Yep.
And target player sacrifices a planeswalker. Super relevant. So I think that
At
this
sorcery speed,
at sorcerer speed,
it should be noted.
It is a note to be noted. However, this is one of those ones that like gets around hexproof, which there's a few planeswalkers that do during the set
Mhm.
in the set, and it also like if someone slaps a Teferi on you, or you can only play at sorcery speed, you don't really care. It's just so flexible. Hits so many things, and I do think that like the majority of the time you're going to be doing it for the planeswalker interaction,
Okay.
because just in terms of volume of creatures with like a mass that you're getting 2 creatures each time and all that type of stuff, I think most of your opponents are going to have a decent board that, yeah, you can get a thing if you need to push for damage or whatever, but I think most of the time it's going to be like, the guy slams his turn 3 or turn 4 Planeswalker, and then you're going to Angrath's Rampage on your turn and then do something else, or leave the mana open for a Jaya's Greeting or a Chandra's Triumph, right?
Yeah.
Like, that's where the sweet spot is.
Mhm.
But I think the fact that you can just immediately get the guy to sack a Planeswalker that he put into play for 2
Yeah.
is just fantastic.
I think I've heard your rationale. The reason that Angrath's Rampage, which in a way is kind of like a half a command in itself, didn't make my list was because it's so goddamn situational. Maybe they're going to flood the board with crappy creatures, so that's going to get blanked. Maybe they won't have an artifact, so that gets blanked. And maybe they don't have a planeswalker, so that gets blanked. So really, if you're
maybe they're not playing War of the Spark, and
Well, no,
they're just
no.
not even playing Magic.
well, no, but like I'm saying, the artifact will never come into play.
Yeah.
The planeswalker will rarely come into play, I think, because you're going to be one.
We're talking about a set that you have 6 Planeswalkers
Sure.
in your opening pool.
Yeah.
It's always going to come into play.
Maybe, but I'm saying like you have to wait around a long time with this as a dead card until that happens, and most of the time you're going to have these little amass zombies sitting around waiting to get nerfed. So
Yeah.
you know the second mode of sacrificing a creature won't be that impressive either.
The thing about it, though, is that Amass, like you said, it's not zombies, it's zombie,
Yeah.
right? So the thing is when someone's really putting into Amass, this kind of uncommon is a huge punish for them, because if you, in the colors that you're in, if you can, like, either Jaya's Greeting, the other creature they have the board, and then force them to sack their big guy, you know, that's the kind of situation where you're like, hey, this pays off a lot. You know, I think you're kind of undervaluing the amount of planeswalkers we're going to get, because we've already talked, well, we haven't really talked about it on the podcast, but let's talk about how parasitic this set is. usually you and I do what's called the Planeswalker Challenge, where we go to other sets and we're like, let's add Planeswalker, let's go add cards and everything and try and find threads.
And one pack for every standard legal set.
Yeah, try and find threads outside of the meta.
Yeah.
I think that me personally probably won't be doing it this time.
Right.
I think that this set is, one, the power level is so high.
Yeah.
And two, it's so parasitic with the interactions with
The
Planeswalker, exactly, that you're gonna want to open 10 packs from this set. Right?
Agreed.
Which means that as the league continues,
yeah.
this card is going to become more and more premium, because if someone opens 16 packs of War of the Spark, they get 16 Planeswalkers. Which means at the end of the league, we're going to see decks with 7, 8, 9, 10 Planeswalkers in them.
I agree with you, and look, I don't think it's a bad card. I think if you're in Rakdos, you're always running it. This is not a reason, however, to go into Rakdos, and here's why. Because the ideal case for it is that you're taking out a Planeswalker at sorcery speed, which means the Planeswalker has already had a chance to fire off one of its activations. They've already gotten value, at least like a third, maybe a half of a card out of it, whereas you're using a whole card to respond to it once they've already got that value out of it.
But they'll always get that value out of it, because unless you counter, unless you
Unless
counter
you
a
counter it.
Planeswalker spell, they maintain priority. So that's something we can mention for people who are new to League.
Sloppy play. There are going to be some players who
pass priority,
right? They play the Planeswalker, and then they go, okay, I go to attack phase. And if this were an instant, you could say, get him.
The question is how many other instants hit them anyways, right? There's a few.
Vraska's Contempt.
Out of set.
Yeah.
Like I think there's 3 or 4 instances that would actually remove the Planeswalker anyway. We're talking about Despark, like we're talking about the Bolus if the Planeswalker costs 3 or less.
Despark is an instant, yeah.
Yeah. So there's not that much that's going to hit them, and I think, like you said, for me, this card, in a Grixis deck or a Rakdos deck, like I'm going to be looking for Grixis more than I am Rakdos just because of the Bolus colors. Like we know that they're going to feed into that. I think like in that deck, they're going to kind of like, it's going to be like an autoplay just because there's going to be more than one situation that's going to come up. And as the league progresses, this is going to be a premium card. You're going to want to jam as many as possible.
I agree if you're already in Rakdos, but I'm not going to open this in my pool and say, oh my god, Angrath's Rampage, I'm going Rakdos.
Yeah, but it might
That's
be,
my point.
if you have 3 bombs in those colors and 3 bombs in another color, it might be a reason to pull you in if you have 3 or 4.
Yes, it's one reason.
It's a reason to pull you if it matches your bombs, right?
If it matches your bombs.
You're not going to disregard 6 bombs or 7 bombs
to play Angrath.
But that's the case with most uncommons.
Correct.
Like how many uncommons have we named today that you would be like, I am going to completely disregard my build to play these uncommons?
Thunder Drain!
No.
I not like saying it.
Alright, let's wrap this up.
My number one.
Your number one.
Ob Nixilus's Cruelty. So, Ob Nixilus's Cruelty is an instant. It is 2 colorless. It is 1 black. And it does wreck your opponent by giving one of their creatures -5/-5 until the end of turn.
Yeah.
And, on top of that, a little bit of gravy on the plate. If it would die this turn, exile it instead. To me, this is the capital T, capital H, capital E premium removal of the set. Hands down, hands down.
This is another one that almost made my list, right?
Yes.
The reason that it didn't make my list, and I'll explain it to you.
You need to justify this. Yes.
I will justify it. I'll justify it. So, incredibly premium quality card.
Yes.
In a draft, you're always going to pick it.
In a league, you're always going to pick it?
Oh no, a league, you're always going to play it.
If you're in black.
The problem with it is this. The card that you want to be hitting it, usually a -5 with, is indestructible, right? Or difficult to deal with, right? Because of the exile effect. In this set, those cards don't get affected by it, right? Because all the zombie gods, as we know, the weird interaction is, if they would go to the graveyard or are exiled, put them 3 from the top. So right there, I was like, okay, so the card that I want to hit with this is not really hittable with it, right? So that kind of lowered it for me too. Second of all, it's the same thing that you had against my Jaya's Greeting. It only hits creatures, right? It's an unflexible card. You know, a lot of these interactions are, you know, it's only going to hit your mass zombie. It's only going to hit whatever Tidebreaker Giant or whatever. But I will say this. Eternal Taskmaster is almost one that got on my list too. And I think it's one of the best cards in the set. This is a hard answer to that. So, I think it's really, really, really premium. I just think it's it's even more situational than like an Angrath's Rampage.
Yeah, Eternal Taskmaster almost got my
that one's a
list as well.
I think that's a sleeper.
Here's how good the set is though. When we're dredging through the commons and uncommons for the top 10, I ended up with a list of 46 cards.
Yeah, I had 22.
That I had to whittle down into a top 10.
And
they don't see the pain that goes on behind the scenes when we have to sacrifice our picks like this.
Yeah,
What's your number one league?
So my number one, we already mentioned, is Prison Realm.
Yeah.
I think, like I said, premium removal. This one is flex, so it's creature and planeswalker. The only way this card could have been more broken is if it had flash on it, like if it was cast out. I think like this is what I kind of noticed about this set is they upped the power level on all the creatures and planeswalkers. But what they also did was took all of the removal that we've seen in the last set, so it's not hard to understand the interactions, and just buttered a little bit more gravy on it. So this was the equivalent of, we've had two of them in Dominaria, Luminous Bonds. This is Luminous Bonds.
Right.
It's essentially Luminous Bonds, but can now hit Planeswalkers, right? Because if a creature can't attack or block, yes, there's the activated abilities, but generally you're putting it on their big guy who's like a Colossal Dreadmaw or whatever. The fact that you get half a card on the scry, and it's 2 colors, 1 white, so you can splash it very easily. Like, I am almost always going to play this if I'm in white colors. And like if I have a splash like an Oketra or a Parhelion, which is like way up there, and I'm like debating the splash, as soon as I splash one of those bonds, I'm going to jam as many of these as possible because I'm already in white.
The fact that we have 5 recursive mythic gods in this set means that you're going to want to weigh. Oh wait, this exiles it. It's going to go in there. It's going to go in the library.
They go back. Yeah, it goes back. It's the same problem with.
I was about to give you praise.
Yeah, here's my hit for the gods. The gods are the most broken cards.
Yeah.
More broken than any planeswalker.
Yeah.
If you get 3 gods in your pool, play all 3. Go those colors because the fact that they go.
Hot takes for days.
I'm just saying the fact that they go 3 from the top of your library
Yeah.
in League is such a limited powerhouse because. Most of the constructed sets, people are like, 3 is a lot of turns in Magic, right?
Yeah.
In League, 3 is not that much.
No, you'll get there.
You'll get there
Most
every
times.
and they're looking at that death clock, going like, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, oh crap, and like Ronus in League, doubling your power, powerful. The Boar God just putting into dashing a creature, powerful. Kefnet copying a spell every turn, unbelievably powerful. Like they're all so broken. Like I think. Really, like the on-power mythic bombs, more powerful than any planeswalker, are going to be the gods in League.
There are going to be 2 kinds of League players. There are going to be people who open gods, and there are going to be people who wish they opened gods.
Yeah.
It's going to be a 2-tier League system.
Yeah.
With God players playing God players and non-God players playing non-God players.
I wasn't playing League at Amonkhet, but I'm assuming it was similar to that effect.
Yeah, you're basically right. But look, first, let's wrap this up by saying, if there's anything you take away from this, it's the fact that Lee and I agree on 1 card.
Yeah.
The fact that we both agreed on it, the fact that he put it first and I put it third, means that probably odds are that we're almost correct about it being worthwhile running in your League deck. We're not exactly in the top 8 every time, but we get there often enough that you can take our...
This was the first one I missed in like 2 years.
There you go.
I was heartbroken.
Were you really heartbroken?
Devastated. I took a whole league off.
You needed the time.
I needed the time.
You needed the time.
My brain was like bleeding on the interns. Like,
yeah.
It's demanding.
But you're back now.
Yeah. And I'm on my way to winning a GP. That's it.
You gotta win the league first.
Win a league of GP.
Okay, so just one piece of fan service before we sign off. Richard Koffler wanted me to publicly state for the record that there was one game in Return to Ravnica where he beat me by doing 2 combat damage and 18 extort damage. We try to keep our faithful watchers happy, so we're content to throw a little fan service in at the end.
Yeah.
So there you go, Richard. That was for you.
I like how you kind of like lowered that down, but 18 extort damage is no joke.
It's an accomplishment. If we had a kind of league like where the Spark is rumored to be that cared about in-game achievements, that would probably win one.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's sign up by saying that come to War of the Spark, our next league. The sign-up period is from any time on May the 3rd until any time on May the 10th.
Yeah, and if we're lucky, hopefully this will be up for pre-release.
Mm-hmm.
And if you guys have any questions or are watching this during pre-release, I will be there for all 3 days. Chris will also be at our
for 1 day.
our sponsor store face-to-face games.
Yep.
And everybody in the league will be happy to answer your questions or talk strategy.
Yeah,
or
just
anything like
approach us during
Yeah.
an intense match when we're really concentrating on the board,
Yeah.
and keep tapping us on the shoulder hard until we will turn around
Yeah.
and answer your questions.
And remember to hold on to any packs you win at pre-release.
And give them to us to,
Yes.
to open on air.
Because you can use them in league.
Oh, also, yeah, right.
And if you don't win enough packs, face-to-face is happy to supply you with all the packs that you need.
That's correct.
To play league.
Yeah.
So,
I hear
For a
that
price.
I hear they sell cards.
for a price.
Yeah.
And that's us signing off.
All
Thanks,
right.
Chris.
Thanks, Lee.
See you next time.
And thanks to David Grenas, of course.
Of course,
Our
our
dedicated
fantastic, dedicated
And our
producer.
studio audience
Yeah.
today.
Anybody noticed our new fantastic studio?
Yes, thanks to our imaginary patrons for this
Yeah.
new set. We really appreciate all your support.
And now the music starts playing us off stage. Boing, 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 like the Oscars.
Is it the sad trombone or?
Yeah. Womp, womp, womp.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
Take
Thanks,
it
guys.
easy, guys.
Next time. Hashtag Maple